Let us start with the all-new step-by-step tutorial for Angular automated testing. So in this tutorial, we will go through the very basics of the testing, and we will go with the benefit of using testing, as well as we will have to know what kind of application requires testing and what kind of application don't requires, and we will see what is the manual testing, what is the unit testing, what is the integration testing, and what is the end-to-end testing. So just as an introduction, if we are talking about what is the automated testing, we simply have to know an automated testing is basically writing a code to test our code and run the code in an automated fashion. For example, if we have a function like check eligibility, where we are passing an argument age, and if it is greater than 18, then it is returning true, else it is returning false. Now just imagine this function is used somewhere in your application, and now if you are using manual testing, then you have to go and launch the application, log in, or perhaps do some clicks and navigation to your pages, and then come to the point where this function is being called. So this is pretty bit long process to perform testing when you go with manual testing, and it may take approx 30 to 50 seconds of your time in order to just process this function manually. Now imagine if you are using automated testing. So in automated testing, we write code and directly call this function with so many inputs as you want and run the code in an automated fashion. This will take fraction of second to test this function with so many inputs as you want. We can test the large part of the application or the entire application in an automated fashion with several times faster than the manual testing do. So writing the test is time consuming. We have to write the application as well as the test code, and implementing the application with test is supposed to take more time in comparison of implementation without the test. Development time is also spent on writing and maintaining the test code. So then we have some questions like, is it good to write automated test? As you add new feature to your application, the application grows in complexity. So the time required to test all the components also increases exponentially. Also sometimes when you work with the application that builds over the year and lot of developers don't know most of the functionality, and the one who developed the feature is no longer working there. So many functions are already built and nobody dares to modify or touch those functions. So in that case, if automated testing is done for the application, then the large part of the application functionality can be tested using automated test, and the time required for manual testing will be far less. In fact, sometimes we don't need manual testing at all, and overall automated resources reduces lot of time that we spend on manual testing. So we have several benefits of automated testing. It is fast in testing and it catches the defects before releasing the application. With automated testing, we can deliver a quality product, and it enforces you to develop better and more reliable software. And also we have to note, We cannot say if we are using automated testing, then we are able to deliver a bug-free software. So whether we have to use automated testing or not, it totally depends on developer and sometimes on the application. Some can say it is useless, while some of the developer can say it is very useful. Even some says you must write test if you are actually a developer. Also, automated testing doesn't need to apply to all the functions. If your project need a clean code and writing a clean test and require you to maintain them accordingly to the application, then you should use automated testing. But if you are not working in an application like that where you don't get such value and the application don't want maintenance, then writing automated test is wasting of time. And if you are writing test there, then you are just wasting your effort because you are giving more effort in writing and maintaining test than the budget of your project that you have got. And should I add automated test to my application? So you have to ask this to yourself. First of all, I should know my application budget and future scope. If I am developing an idea to an application and I don't know whether it will be success or not in future, then I should avoid writing test to it. I must be focused on my application and getting the audience to use my application so as to get it usable on a broad way. If I start writing the test for this type of application, then I may end up writing test and spending a lot of time to it without getting the good benefit. Also, my application is changing its functionality a lot as I am developing a totally new idea and there are a lot of things that will change frequently. Then changing the area of application will require you to change the test also. So there also I may end up fixing and giving time to test too much. Also, you must try to write test to that part of application which require lot of manual effort to test. You have to take care of time and effort while development. You must try to deliver the part on time, otherwise nobody cares how much you have developed. Indirectly, I would say I will add automated test when required and makes sense. So how to write the test? Different type of test we can write, that is unit test, integration test, and the end-to-end test. So when we are talking about the unit test, so this is an isolation testing. The testing will perform without any external resources. We will not use the external resource like file system, database, API endpoint. And this is the classic way of writing the test irrespective of Angular. We are not just talking about Angular test. So when we are talking about Angular, the unit test will not use the template. And if the test component is using the services and router, then that will be the fake service and the fake router that we will create and return the result directly. And unit tests are easy to write and they are fast, but we should not rely too much on UT. We should not depend on the unit test. Why? Why should we not depend on UT? Let's see, we have a component that is member component and it having a property total member and a method add members. So in our HTML on the same component having a button that is calling this particular function. add members. So that button will click in order to perform this functionality. Sometimes if we forget to bind the event, the function to the HTML, then our component will not work. Doesn't matter your component having the method that is 100% correct, but if they are not getting called from your HTML, then this is useless. So this type of mistake we may often do, just like we have said. Here we have the button that is having binded with the click event of that function, and if we have forget to add, then still unit test will work successfully and it will be showing success for the component. So that's why we should not rely on UT. Then comes the integration test. It will test the component with external resources like file system, database, API endpoint. And this is the classic definition of the integration testing. And in Angular term, the testing the Angular component along with the template file, that is our HTML. In our unit test, we have just crossed the template. We have not used the template. But here we will use the template in our integration testing. So now instead of looking at the class, a plain TypeScript class like we does on unit test, we should look these as an Angular component, and we need to run the test in an Angular environment. So when we do integration testing, we instruct the compiler to compile the class along with its template. This type of test requires more code in comparison of simple unit test. Also in integration testing, we need to deal with modules, dependency injection, and so on. Integration test provides us more confidence in terms of functionality of the component. So when we are talking about the integration test, this is also an isolation testing. We can say as this also use the fake service and the fake router, etc. Still we will say this an integration testing as the testing involves a couple of files like component, HTML, etc. These are in a separate file, so we can say this is an integration test as we are integrating the component class to its template. So here in Angular, integration testing will use template, but in unit testing, in Angular, unit testing will not use template. So we have seen the two tests, unit test that is totally limited to the component, the class file, and the integration test that is depend on the component as well as the template. Now if we write the integration test for each component and all the tests are successfully passed, still there is not much surety that our application will work when end user uses the application, because we are looking at the individual component test, not the application as a whole. So in that case, the end-to-end testing comes in picture that will test the entire application. And in this testing, we simulate a user that logs into the application by giving the credential, performs the functionality, and navigate to some pages you have defined as well. So this testing creates more confidence about the functionality of the application. However, these tests are very slow as each test is going to launch the application and do navigation from home page to here and there and perform some functionalities. And this test is very fragile as a small change in HTML file can easily break the application, can easily break the test, and it will start showing you that the test has been broken. So most of the time you should spend on the unit test and integration test, and we have to write end-to-end testing only for the key functions of the application. So we have gone through these three tests, that is the unit test, the integration test, and end-to-end test. And we have got to know what is the limitation of unit test and what is the limitation of integration test and what is the use of end-to-end test. Now in our upcoming video, we will start with the fundamentals and start with the unit test, then proceeding with integration and end-to-end. Till now, thank you so much.